drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
Soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to yet another Sunday sermon. My name's Lee Keys, and joining me as always to chew the fat that happens in racing every week, guaranteed it's like a soap opera, Mr. John Lang and Chris Lorne Malvo. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
I'm excited. John put some fabulous questions up in his Twitter questions thread. There's quite a funny one for later on in the show, so make sure you're listening in for that. But we're going to start off, as always, before we get on to the juicy stuff. We have some juicy stuff this week on the racing review, which took place over the weekend. It has to be said, John, there's not a lot to be saying, is there? First subject, Paul Nicholls, Ditchy. They're a yard with an SOS signal right now.
If he was 10 years old, you'd say it would be terminal decline.
I'm seeing some crack. In the past, you say trainer form, things like that. Yeah, we all have good and bad spells. But I just watched the horses he has, and not many of his are very cheap either. He just doesn't seem to keep them going. Wicked Willie seems to keep them going. And this is despite probably running more than the likes of Pumpkin, and Galloping Deschamps doesn't miss a dance, and they just keep going. I don't know. He's had a terrible weekend. Obviously, Brave Man's game now. For that to finish 6.5 lengths behind Hitman, even if you take out the winner, who's quite smart, but to finish 6.5 behind Hitman, that's terrible, isn't it?
I think if you own the former King George winner, as we'll refer to him for the purposes of this discussion, I think you'd be definitely thinking about retiring him, because I don't personally think it's a very edifying sight when you've got a horse that doesn't owe you anything, mooching round in these races. I mean, he doesn't look as though he wants to be there. His finishing efforts, really, since his Gold Cup second, have raised more questions than answers, haven't they? I thought at the time, and I went on record as saying I thought that Gold Cup bottomed him.
Yeah.
I have no reason to go back on that whatsoever. I think that horse, for me, is finished. But when I mentioned terminal decline for Paul Nicholls, I think he's still got age on his side at the minute. I think, from hearing him talk, I think he's still got the motivation to try and get a grip of things and bounce back. Bouncing back is not the easiest thing, because once owners see chinks in the armour and that, the owners are the first ones to retire.
What did you think of the recent holiday he had mid-season? I know trainers do it. Brian Ellison does it after the plate. In the flat season, he goes away for a fortnight. It's around his birthday. So I know trainers do it, but I always think this particular time of year, you're having key trial. Like Brian does it after the plate, the race he wants to win, has succeeded.
I think it's easier when you're a top trainer because, let's be fair, your team's in place. You know you can trust to do what.
Yeah.
You tend to repeat work patterns anyway. You know, I mean, unless the fortnight that you nip off for a holiday requires a massive stroke of genius of which only yourself is capable, I don't really see a problem with it.
Yeah, okay.
There's lots of trainers you rarely see at the races. Nobody's saying, Christ, he must be sat at home with his feet up watching loose women or something like that. Can't be all consuming, because when it gets all consuming, it's too much for any fucker, this game.
Yeah, after all, they're human being. It's like everything. Yeah. What was South's sort of like path of play? Did he go away ever in the summer at all?
Not really, no. But he always took a break February time.
Yeah, it's just something that you notice when someone's out of form, and then people look to it and maybe take issue with that and say, well, crucial time of the year in terms of jumps game, maybe is it the right time? But I take your point on board, John, and you would certainly know a racing yard.
February is a fairly dead time, isn't it? February, end of January. I mean, you're not going to have like what you call key moments in your build up to the festival. It's just like ticking. It's sort of like what I'd call a ticking along period, and I think personally, if you feel as though you need it, you're better off going than not going.
Yeah, I don't think it's the biggest surprise in the world if we see Brave Man's game move to Ireland.
Right.
Well, Brian Drew's put horses over them. As I forgot the trainer. I don't know if it's Willie. I'm not sure, but he's bought horses and put them over there. So it just makes you wonder if they think, right, let's try this for one last dance.
Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe that's under consideration. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is retirement, but whatever it is, the horse is clearly nowhere near what he once was. The game spirit obviously caused a lot of Twitter, social media outbursts at the fact that Cottonwool Nicky pulled out the hot pot for the Arkle in Sir Gino. Oh, Gino. Just sounded like him, that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Who's it meant to sound like?
Midnight Runners.
Dexy and his Midnight Runners.
Who? Dexy's Midnight Runners.
Yeah.
Kevin Rowland, wasn't
it? I know Kevin Rowland, but I can't quite place the vocal range that you've just exhibited. It's very odd. Yeah.
So it's closer to Roland Rat than Kevin Rowland.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, quite. Simon Rowland, more like, but there we are. Yeah,
Roland Rat and Kevin. Anyway, remember them two?
And Reggie was the other one, the little gerbil cousin, wasn't it? Cousin Reggie. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
That's well good. Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
What a show that was. That's the only reason anyone watched Good Morning Britain.
Yeah, TVAM, wasn't it? It was TVAM, wasn't it?
Unless you wanted to shag a young Anne Diamond.
Well, that's it. That's what I was about to mention. It was that and Anne Diamond. And watching her nearly wet herself when she got Patrick Duffy on the sofa one.
Oh, yes. She like a fucking slid off, didn't she?
Like a schoolgirl, got all completely giddy because that was her heartthrob.
To be fair, if you were sat opposite Mike Morris every fucking day, anyone would look better, wouldn't they? Remember old Mike Morris, the old walrus moustache?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good, him. Yeah.
Then you got Wincy Willie, the weather woman. Then you got Mr. Motivator.
Yeah, you had Rusty Lee doing a bit of cooking as well, remember?
Yeah, they just burst out into laughter every like 5 seconds.
Mad Lizzie doing the health kick thing.
Wouldn't that BBC Mad Lizzie? Or was that the Green Goddess?
The Green Goddess on
That's it, yeah, Diana.
But they had Mad Lizzie and Mr. Motivator, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
I remember Lizzie step in after Mr. Motivator got sidelined.
I don't know, it could have been the other way around. I've no idea, John. Memory's gone.
Do you remember the Rusty Lee thing when they had Les Dawson on? And she said, "Do you cook much yourself, Les?" He says, "I only want to go in the oven." I always remember that. And she dissolved into gales of laughter. But yeah, he was good in that.
Yeah. The good days of TV, anyway.
Yes.
So coming on to the game spirit. So, of course, Sir Gino, John, we've had a few questions on this and people sort of chiming up on this particular subject. Stephen Thomas has been on and said, what's your view on Sir Gino's absence in this race? Did Hendo bottle it, as Ruby hinted yesterday? What's your take on it? Hendo's come out today, by the way, if you've not read it. And he said that the reason it didn't run, it had a wound. He thought it'd heal a bit better than it has. It hasn't. And it can't be ridden tomorrow, but he's still confident everything will be fine. It's only a flesh wound. Does Hendo speak with forked tongue, John?
Well, he mourns more than a ghost having an orgasm, doesn't he, really?
He does.
I think, actually, it's no surprise, really, that he missed that race. He might have just had a look and thought that's a bit stiff going into Cheltenham. He sort of covered his tracks by saying we had a step backwards. Or it could all be genuine and ourselves had a step back and taken a step further back today. We don't know.
I wouldn't listen to anything Ruby Walsh says. I mean, fuck me. I mean, he makes Henderson look like Jesus in terms of telling the truth. Ruby Walsh, I think whatever he says, you can just say the opposite's true. I mean, the bloke is just, he's not forked tongue, he's like triple forked tongue. So I don't take anything he sort of says seriously at all. Dreadful.
Henderson
wow, that's a trick.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think he's a professional fucking dissembler. You know, people moan about AP McCoy. I mean, he's just there to put people away. I mean, you know, he's meant to have loads of access to Willie Mullins. Everything he says, the opposite is true. You know, as a pundit or race analyst, he's fine, right? When he's there to sort of criticise young riders, but you never hear him criticise Townend or any of the riders associated with Willie Mullins. Never opens his trap, but if it's a young kid like UK pundits, he'll go for him. I think he's a shithouse, Ruby Walsh. I really do. One of the worst shithouses in racing. That's my personal take on that.
Interesting.
Bang.
Yeah, because he's kind of revered like by a lot of
he is.
Pundits. Yeah. We like edgy takes like this.
I think he's a shithouse. I think he's one of the worst pundits. Not that he technically doesn't know what he's doing, because clearly he's a great jockey. But fuck me, you look at some of the bollocks he comes out with. Fucking no good badgerhead cunt. Fuck off. Yeah.
There we go.
Fucking
Chris is
twat.
getting some aggro after this.
Yeah,
I can
fuck
feel
him.
it.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah, good. Bring it on. I don't give a fuck. Don't read it anyway.
No. Oh yeah, back to the game spirit. Anyway, as it's called, the game spirit. John mentioning the orgasmic ghost, Casper the friendly ghost, Casper the orgasmic ghost, maybe after John's.
Oh, we're in some dark territory there, aren't we?
Well, I don't know.
Right.
It's going
Yeah.
south. We've not been on air 15
Cheers.
minutes.
It's got a
It's
long
going
way to
south.
go. It's already causing trouble.
Yeah.
It's worse to come as well. Stay tuned.
Yeah, terrible horse. Matata went off the well-back favourite, a horse that we tipped up at 2-1. And even though he went odds on in running, John, I sort of knew our fate probably from about
4 out.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was really surprised you went 2s on. I know that sounds a terrible aftertime. So, you're making fortunes from lane. Believe me, if I'd have put in a big lay bet at 1.5 or 1.6, I'd have got nothing matched and everyone would have sat and stared at it. That's how in running is now. It's getting very hard. I think he'd just not jumped quite well enough. He was taking an extra stride and that was like wasting energy. He was never left alone by the one on his
I think
outside.
it's a type of horse that at the trip, in an ideal world, I think it'd be a 14 furlong chaser.
Yeah.
Over 2 miles, plus, because it was out at furlong yesterday, one thing he needs absolutely everything to go right. Not miss
Yeah.
a stride and probably an easy lead.
I agree. I think if the Cheltenham Festival was at Windsor, where you've got like bends galore, he gets them breathers because obviously revs come off round bend. I think that's where he'd be like ridiculously dangerous because he was very impressive over Windsor last time. And Newbury's long
You
straight.
could get Catherine Fry out at Cheltenham for a couple of days as well, wouldn't it?
It would actually.
Royal Windsor.
Yeah. Some Cheltenham Festival at Windsor. But anyway, there's not much to report. Masters Chewy winning a very below par race. In fact, it was a very below par sort of weekend. Very disappointing kind of standards were set.
Super Saturday, somebody called it.
It was rubbish.
Yeah.
It was
Who was that? Did that?
It was absolutely rubbish. The level of interest in this household was very low. So much so that I didn't have half the racing on Saturday. It didn't mean anything.
Well, I got up just before the Schweppes and put some mushy peas on to soak.
Oh.
There you go.
That's how bad it was.
Marafat peas or something.
You just stared at them while they were soaking, didn't you?
Well, I put the bicarb tablets in and I thought, what should I do? Watch the Schweppes or watch these dissolve?
Yeah, there you go.
Why do you soak mush? Don't you just buy them in a tin, or is that heresy to buy them pre-made?
Well, you can buy them in a tin, providing you buy the neon green bachelor's ones. And yes,
quite. Yeah, yeah.
But if you know the proper old style soak ones and make them with a bit of ham stock, they're actually fairly delicious.
Are they Marafat peas? The mushy peas, or is it something else?
They just come as dried peas in a pack.
Right.
And you get soaking tablets in there with them.
Yeah.
You soak them in water overnight, rinse them off, and then just boil them till soft in stock.
Oh my God! Right.
Very nice.
Okay.
And listeners, believe me, if you haven't subscribed to the Bar Stewards Extra service, the cheaper one of our offerings with no...
Yeah, for tight cunts. Yeah.
You actually get John's cooking expertise on
some
midweek madnesses.
And it's worthwhile as well, because he's a good judge of this sort of thing.
He is. He actually does know what he's doing. He's not totally shit. It's what it says on the thing. And he comes up with some good ideas. In fact, going back to the best idea that I think John's cooked was the advice on Yorkshire puddings when he said about what was it? Was it an egg?
Extra egg white, just before you put them in.
And you have massive Yorkshire puddings, big, massive, fuck off.
They're rocket up.
Tower
like
Yorkshire
Nicky Henderson's hat. Remember that hat he wore? It looked like an Aunt Bessie's, that Russian Cossack thing. Yeah. They'll be like that.
Kind of Yorkshire pudding on his head. Yeah. Oh, this is disgraceful. The William Hill handicap hurdle, which, as John just said, was formerly known as the Schweppes. Fondly, I remembered it as the Turk Gold Trophy as well. They've even took the gold trophy out of it. They're probably not giving him a gold trophy anymore. They've said, fuck him.
He won from Timpson's, one of them little trophies you win. That's what you get.
Yeah.
And your heel's done as well, all for a tenner.
First of all, the name title, John, I find a disgrace because the whole point of racing and why we love it so much, we pick out a horse and we say, oh, that'll be an ideal type for this or an ideal type for this.
And then there's every chance you can miss this because it's fucking.
Yeah, it's same race. Like William Hill Handicap Hurdle, there'll be about 25 of them a season. You've lost your identity. It is a scandal.
Considering Great British Racing spent more than the GDP of Iceland on a narrative for the sport to run throughout the season, and then basically fucked up the fixture list and then allowed this sort of shit to go on. It's beyond belief, isn't it?
I just cannot believe that that's allowed. By all means, but even Big Corp, we welcome the sponsorship. Of course we do, as a sport. And that's the only thing we're about thankful to for Big Corp for sponsoring and putting on cards like this. But Jesus Christ. And why didn't they at least called it the William Hill Gold Trophy? And then it's got an identity, and then people remember in years to come, or like people coming into the sport, they'll always remember it as the William Hill Gold Trophy, like we remember it as the Schweppes and the Turk Gold Trophy.
Be interesting to see what sort of trophy they did get.
Well, hopefully
Might
it's
have
the
been
same.
betting vouchers.
It might be, or book tokens or something.
Anyway, Stephen Thomas has been on. He says, how ludicrous is it that Joyous isn't eligible for a Fez handicap? Obviously, because it's not had enough starts.
It's a pity because it's been campaigned openly and fairly, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
No secrets.
People are saying it's ludicrous. I'm saying no. This horse has won with what? £75 in hand?
That's £1 million, I think, would be a more accurate.
Yes, 198 I'd rate that.
Yeah, 500.
She's related to Epiton. Is it the full sibling? I don't know. It's the dam that's our half sister to Epiton. Sorry, I've got that wrong. But nevertheless, the handicapper will probably put this up about 12 to 135. But I'd just probably ring JP and said, are you going straight in graded races with this? Because I want to give you 150. I won't be surprised even if they end up going in a grade one day, like at Aintree or something. It's just bonkers. It's one with any amount in hand. Incredibly impressive. So not much more to say on that other than that. Warwick's Fair, I thought the standard this weekend was shocking. It has fallen down so much. Loader Sud, Rubord franked the Kempton form for Sergino against Loader Sud. Obviously, Sergino thumped that, so you can forget Loader Sud in Arkle. Dirty Dan. Desperate Dan with his cow pie.
The omelette pan man, that's him. The omelette
Rolled
pan.
up and punted Limailos off the boards. John, they're even doing it with veterans chasers, lining him up for Mark and having the lot on, John.
Well, luckily for me, if there was a veterans chase going on in my car park, I'd shut the blinds. So I have every opportunity not to see a veterans chase or any of the shenanigans that goes with it.
Given that Dan Skelton's our second best trainer, what do you make of him?
I find him a thoroughly odious individual, to be perfectly honest. The fact that he features heavily in a documentary that's supposed to promote racing to the masses, I find incredibly worrying.
Tin-eared, isn't it, John? It's totally tin-eared.
Yeah, I would really, really struggle to find anything redeeming to say about them. Entitled, just no.
I agree. I can't take to it when I was a punt when you approach a race.
Mm.
We know all trainers have targets, and we get that. And that's why there is a bit of skill involved in identifying what potential targets they may have for horses. But this trainer's a very difficult trainer to predict. Handicap debut, they might not fancy it and then just stop it for shits and giggles. I don't know. It belongs in Ireland, really.
He does it. Nothing comes out of that yard that's worthwhile, really, does it? He's a bit like Beckett, isn't it? You get out, really. You'd always dubious if you get a message for one. You think, is that what he wants people to think?
Beckett would be an entirely different calibre of trainer, though, because, I mean, nearly all Beckett's 2-year-olds, if they make a promising debut, will back them up.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Beckett's like upper echelon.
Yes, but I suppose in the national hunt sphere, the Skelton would be the equivalent, isn't it? You couldn't ascend higher than he is in a domestic game. I mean, he's top guy, isn't he?
I quite agree with that. Yeah.
But I take your point. You're right there. I mean, he's different gig, Beckett. But I suppose, look, I get a sense that a lot of these people are kind of finally smelling the coffee, and I think, well, let's make hay. Let's get a few quid. It wouldn't surprise me if they're playing that way. I don't know.
Waking up to the fact that the game's about Ghost,
Yeah, absolutely. So why not? As Rome burns, let's fiddle, isn't it?
Well, is it though? Find out later in the show.
Yes.
If there is more hope on the horizon, keep listening.
Yeah.
We're putting his mask on.
Colonel Braxton has said, do racing TV overdo it on speed data analysis? What is their actual target audience? it's becoming ridiculous, the clock obsession. Well, as a sort of a Time Lord myself on the flat,
Love time. You fucking love it,
I
don't you? You
do.
love your time, your spreadsheets,
If
your
you've ever
Excel. You
watched
love all that.
Alice Through the Looking Glass, I am Baron Sacha Cohen in that. That's me. I am obsessed by time. You don't mess with time.
With you and your mankini with them spreadsheets open, honestly. I thought, ooh.
Absolutely. And of course, it helps when you know what you're doing, which I obviously do. Blow your own trumpet there a bit. But it's one of them, right? I get what they're trying to do. I do agree with Braxton here. It's an important variable, but it's only one variable. There are many other variables. John will outdo me on paddock analysis by a country mile. There's lots of different things to the broth. I think some of these time laws with the speed ratings don't get them right either, because how can you record a fast time if you run into a big headwind? It's never going to be a fast time, is it? So therefore, unless you've got an accurate barometer of what exactly the wind was blowing for that rate, and you've got the wind gun on the track, you can't have an accurate rating. So there are lots of flaws with time, speed, and etc. etc. But as a rule of thumb, it does pretty much suggest how good a horse may or may not be. But this is, I think, over egg, John. Would you agree?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think overall, though, I think Racing TV might struggle to put output from people who aren't time buffs in the quantity required to fill the gaps if they did cut it down. I think
Yeah.
I think the team, shall we call them, is quite heavily slanted in favour of time buff who
Yeah.
like talking about time and what have you. Although some of them baffle you a bit with some of their ideas, but I think overall, I think it's a time based team, if you like.
And the problem is, and I can tell you this for a fact, and listeners and punters, I can tell you now, time bets are probably 9 times out of 10 heavily bet and over bet, because everyone's got the data. Well, not everyone, but people have the data, people that probably matter. And unless you get the prices, you're struggling, because they always get punted, and rarely do you see a time bet, if so to speak, at a big price on the shows, because by then everyone knows, right, this is the fastest horse in the race, chaps. Trapped to wire. If everything goes right, it's probably going to win. When you see it drift badly is usually when it's not going to win. I always think that with time bets. I think if they're a big price on the off, they never win or rarely win, because it just can't be that can't be the price it is, unless the time people have made mistakes, which generally they don't a lot of the time. There we go on that. I agree. If it's annoying for some people just like to see the horses. Like John will make fantastic assessments in the paddock over a season, and he will look at things and say, this will progress into a really nice horse. I would back his opinion over just about anybody's on that respect. So there we go. There's lots of different variables in this game. That's just one of them. Jeff Lynch has been on. What do commentators repeatedly say that makes you shout at the TV? He says, I'll start. Price-wise, tipped this one last night. It used to be just Matt Chapman saying it. Now it's Ollie Bell and Rishi and others joining in about Price-wise. Isn't Price-wise a has-been now in terms of...
Listen, Tom Siegel is not a good judge, right? And I'll tell you why I think that is. He made his name on betting overnight in soft markets. Right, when he had the prices emailed to him the night before, he had the pick of a really illiquid soft market, and now that situation's changed. I think he's reverted to the mean. I think he's not a good judge at all, and I think price-wise is irrelevant now, and has been for a couple of years, I think.
John, do you remember when Price-wise used to guarantee prices until 9:30?
Yeah. You literally couldn't get on the night before unless it was midsummer and there was night racing, could you?
No.
And even then, Nick was doing the rounds in his straight away, though, wasn't he?
It's soft. It was soft markets over. I mean, you couldn't fail to make a profit, could you? Because it was, he had his pick of the prices. Now the game's changed. It's different now, and he's been. The Price-wise franchise has been exposed as being, largely irrelevant, really, to overall performance, I think, and it has been for years. Who looks at Price-wise tips now? Nobody.
Yeah, one of the best ones, bar us, of course, is Hugh Taylor.
Yep.
On At the Races, consistently beat the market. Obviously, it's 9:15 in the morning, but still, it's a good effort with some impressive ROI, and it's free on At the Races. But again, it's another one. Good look at getting the prices, because everything sort of collapses like an England batting lineup. I get why Jeff's annoyed, and it's a has-been of life, really.
What phrases annoy you?
The biggest one is the race change complexion. I hate that. When they're doing a review, I'm a crackpot anyway, but I want to nut the wall. The race changed complexion in the last furlong. It's the most cliched piece of shit that you've ever seen in it.
Yeah.
Have you not got a brain to just say something original and say, that went too fast, and that's why all the closers have just swamped it in the last 100 yards? You have to say the race changed complexion.
Re-rally. I hate that.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's like a dentist drill.
Yes.
The race change complexion. And they all use it, a lot of them. Every single one of them use it. Horrible fuckers.
I've got one, and it's the only example I've got of me being absolutely triggered. And
Yep.
it started off the first time I heard it, where it just raised an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Now when I hear it, I actually want to climb inside the television, get hold of the person saying it, and rip their spleen out.
Yeah. What is it? We're on tenterhooks here. What is it?
Strutting his stuff.
Oh, that's a shocker. Strutting his stuff.
I have never
Yes.
yet seen a horse strut, lest it be on a catwalk.
I tell you what, John, as well, I think you've put this up as well, and it made me think, where someone says that a horse relishes attritional conditions.
Oh my God.
No horse relishes going round 3.5 miles in the mud. It's just they hate it. The winner hated it less.
Yeah, the winner's the most
relish it.
stupid out the lot.
Yes, absolutely. I hate that.
John, in them veterans chases, you enjoy like the one that 3 miles 6 furlong runs on powerfully to take third.
Yeah.
Fairly consent there.
It's not had enough punishment, has it? It needs a bit more. I need more. Give me more. Give me some fucking more. Give me another mile of this. I want it.
Yeah, I love it. I relish it. Yeah. Fucking love it.
I tell you, if that's all there was, I'd walk into the fucking same, eh?
Yeah. Keep walking. Reggie Perrin style.
Yeah.
No speedos either.
John Stonehouse.
He ain't going it. No speedos.
Ooh, fucking hell.
just some loose white wire front.
Ooh.
Yeah, some massive.
Yeah, brown at the front, yellow at the front. No, brown at the back, yellow at the front, so you know which side to wear them, isn't it? That's the way to do it. Ooh.
Right, after this absolute shambles of a start to this shirt, we're now going to get on to some pretty good stuff. Of course, this week, if you've noticed on social media, you might not notice everywhere because mainstream won't report this kind of thing. But there was a Westminster Hall gathering this week of MPs discussing the white paper and the future of gambling in the UK. Further discussions. We've had more discussions on this over many years. It seems like it's never ended. I think it's taken a turn this week. And of course, us as bar stewards are fighting the good fight on this with Social Market Foundation James Noyes, who is going to take the fight to Westminster, hopefully in time, but certainly it will need the help of racing as well. Now, Dan Carden, Labour MP for Liverpool Walton, came out this week in the assertion of splitting casino wallets with horse racing wallet. Well, he hasn't said wallets, but that's our idea in terms of how it should proceed. But we need a split. We need horse racing to split from casinos. We don't want them banded together. That's terrible for the sport because you're saying horse racing is just as bad as smashing away on a slot machine at 3 a.m. in Calcutta. It's got to that stage where now we need to be serious about this. Racing needs to come together as a collective. And James Noyes stated on Twitter the other evening, which we 100% support, he said, Dan Carden, he's absolutely right in what he says. I know from many conversations in the horse racing community that there is a strong desire to differentiate between traditional racing betting and the more harmful types of online casino content that we continue to see grow in profit from year to year. There are ways to make this differentiation happen, all of which could be introduced by the regulator. The introduction of different types of license, platform, and wallet could apply to different types of betting and gaming. And yes, that also means revisiting the current affordability situation that faces British racing. I am told has proven very damaging to the sector, which of course we know as bar stewards, it has caused immense damage to the sector. And this is where we come on board. I think it's fabulous that a podcast like us can join forces with reform groups. People that are saying, oh, no, I'm not having a bar of it. We've got to just plough on and just say no with no restrictions to anything. That ship's left port. It went a long time ago and it's never coming back. It sank, in fact. So now we need to I accept that we need a solution. And the solution is exactly that. The plan that the bar stewards have formed with James and Matt Zarb cousin is we're going to get a separate horse racing wallet. That's number one from casino gambling, which will have a lot less stringency in terms of checks, etc., etc. How that's exactly going to play out, we're not there yet, but we will get there. That's number one. Number two, we need a heritage status for British racing. We have listed buildings on most tracks in the UK. It's so much to bear. So if you sold for housing land, you'd have to leave that there. You'd have to just sit there. These are protected buildings that cannot be taken down. So what are you going to do? Why is racing not protected? And that's also the backstop of any antis like the harm groups coming back for racing further down the line. And it's also the backstop against animal rights groups that know it's a complete waste of time. You can't come for it because it's a protected status. And that's what racing needs. That's number two. Number three is taxation. So this works financially. Racing is an unattractive product for bookmakers to take bets on. I'm fully accepted of that it's very difficult for a bookmaker to accept a bet on horse racing. It has to beat the punter by 12 to 14% in order to make a profit. That's absolutely terrible for a bookmaker to have to make that much money to expect to beat a punter. So ordinary punters, not just winning punters, that's a different argument. I'm not arguing for somebody like me to be able to get bets on. I'm arguing that normal folk that have been brought up into this, they might break even or they might make a few pounds or they might lose a few pounds, but not much. And we've seen that where they've banned them, they've asked them for affordability checks because they're not a profitable account going forwards. This is unfair and it's certainly harming racing and the interest in racing. We're advocating for higher taxes on slot machines and casino gaming and lower taxation for racing. Bring the taxation down so it's possible for the operator to not exclude fans of the sport and enjoy it. This is what needs to stop. As long as an overhaul about the levy, again, that's another different subject. We need to talk about the levy and how that needs to be decided. But media rights deal in 2026, that's a massive deal. These are things, chaps, that as a podcast, I think we've got right. I think this is great. This is something you could plausibly tell MPs about racing and what it provides to people. You know, the loss of jobs in the industry would be catastrophic. In fact, I even saw one MP in this meeting, and it would be Cheltenham's, by the way, of all people. He actually said, gambling is not symbiotic with this sport.
Wow.
Talk about reading a room. What kind of opinion is that? I shook my head in disbelief.
It's extraordinary. Just completely not reading the briefing or not reading the room. And it just says that a lot of MPs just aren't up to snuff, unfortunately. They're just not good enough intellectually.
No.
That's the reality of it.
Good old Dan Carden, who, by the way, is still on the side of reformers in terms of things need to be done. But I was very encouraged by his statement. Support British racing in terms of something needs to be done. And this is important. This is a start and it's a way in to other MPs to try and turn their heads and make them see that racing is an institution that's been supported by the monarchy, by aristocrats through the years. Bloodlines in particular have come from this country for racing. We do not want to see its demise. And believe me, folks, before you slag this initiative off, there is no other option on the table. Nothing. You have nothing. So it's this or the highway. And I'm pointing this out to trainers, jockeys, bloodstock industry that listen to this podcast. You have to get behind this initiative. It's your only chance for racing to flourish. Otherwise, you are going to be eaten up by big corp. The lot of you. This is the last chance. This is it. This is the boat we're boarding on a very, very rough journey. And we're not favourites. That's the thing. We are not the favs in this. This is still going to take some pulling off with the Gambling Commission, the BGC fighting for big corp. It's going to be a tough one to pull off. John, thoughts?
Can't argue with any of that. I just hope that this leads to you getting a bit less stick than you've had over all this.
I don't think that. And to be honest,
I do, because I think a lot of it's been unjustified. And I think people haven't realised that had the other angle been pulled off, anyone who'd worked purely towards the affordability checks being done away with and it had worked, we'd have been the first people taking our hats off to them.
Having spoken in meetings with James Noyes, I'm going to say this now. I think he's a very, very smooth operator. If you said to me, debate this guy in an hour, I wouldn't be confident of coming out on top. He's good. He's really good. And I think somebody like this leading this cause, yes, of course. I've had people say to me, oh, you're gullible, you're naive, all this lot. They might do. Do you know what, though? I don't care because the idea is fantastic. And
Yes.
from meetings, my stomach isn't tingling from thinking, I don't trust this guy kind of thing.
No.
I do trust them, and I'm hoping that I'm right. I'm not always right, far from it.
But the point is, Lee, whether you trust them or not, you're right. You are odds against, right? It's a very, very difficult endeavour. But I would say to anyone in racing, there is no alternative. So you either get behind this and put all your heft behind it and give it as much of a push as you can, or you are de facto resigning yourself to the fact that racing will not exist in its current form in a handful of years.
Sure.
This is the only game in town. Everything else prior to this initiative has failed. And there has not been a lot tried, to be honest, other than moaning on social media. But the reality is this is it. So I'd say to anyone, if you're not stepping up behind this, you're not with us. You're not interested genuinely in saving racing.
And please, right, I am getting £0 from this. Naught. It's a coconut. I'm doing this for racing because it's given me a fantastic life. Not just being able to earn a living from it, but at the same time, putting back into it, owning horses, making friends. All my friends are from racing, just about now.
You haven't got any friends.
Well,
What are you
yeah,
about? We hate you as well. We only just do this.
Yeah. I admit, I've started to lie now.
All the people you know are from racing.
Acquaintances that nod to you on the way in and out.
John, that is so very well phrased. This is not a grift. I'm not doing it for clicks or likes or to further Bar Stewards podcast or anything like that. No clickbait, no slagging people off for nothing and all this shit. All good, this one. So I want racing people to get behind this and be brave. I know you're hiding behind privets and fences and hiding behind your settee at the moment, and you daren't say anything because until you're masters at the BHA or the NTF or whoever's in charge of what you can say, I think it's time you came out.
They won't save you. The BHA won't save you. The NTF won't save you. They are not coming to help.
They are not going to help you right now. And when you lose owners, because no one can bet down the line, don't then come back to us.
Break cover. Stand up. Be a man. That's what I would say to any trainer.
Back and follow Dan Carden, Labour MP for Liverpool, Walton, and support him. Give him confidence to carry on the fight for racing.
And that's the point. He needs confidence because if people from racing aren't coming out, he's going to conclude, well, this is a minority view held by a small number of passionate gamblers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? That's the point. The words, the idea of the plan will only have heft if people from racing say, yeah, you're right, this is an industry, it employs loads of people, we want it safe. If they don't do that, he's going to say, well, guys, the bottom line is no one in racing agrees with you, so they must be happy with the post-white paper, so I'm out. That's how MPs operate. You've got to seize the moment. He'll bend like the wind. They all do. And that's not saying he's disingenuous, because he isn't. But if he's not seeing the evidence of people from racing coming forward, then he's going to conclude, well, maybe this isn't as much of a problem as I've been told.
Yeah, exactly that. MPs can only go on feedback they get. And if the feedback, let's say all the harm groups are replying to him saying, no, racing needs to be
terrible
banned.
idea. Yeah, terrible. Yeah.
He's fighting against the wind. You need to follow this guy, watch that speech. It's on our timeline. Watch the video of him defending racing, saying it needs to be protected. You need to back people like that right now. You don't need to be shouting and doing blogs on Twitter, as Chris has said, and shouting at people on Twitter. You need to back people that can make a difference. And this is what we're asking. And the same with likes of James Noyes, who, by the way, is not what I ever would have imagined, having spoken to him. Honestly, it's a surprise. People, when you see them online, you think are morons, imbeciles. This guy is just not at all. Far from it.
Just like us, really. I mean, we come across as imbeciles, but we're actually mega intellectuals. Yeah. We're playing characters. We're as posh as fuck in real life, aren't we?
Yeah.
We speak like no, terribly.
Yeah. Moving on, a Barsters exclusive now coming up, and it's on Cheltenham. And there's a question from Mark Sugar. Jockey Club Racecourses rewards for racing, dropping £100 of the free points in accounts to help with declining festival ticket sales. Mark Sugar, you are correct. Racing for Rewards have been giving people money off to basically go and buy Cheltenham tickets. But I think initially they sort of messed up because they didn't put the Cheltenham bit in and people were buying Dante tickets.
Now you're talking.
Apparently they fixed it now. I've seen actually on
I'm
threads.
just trying to work out in my head how much they'd have to knock off to get me at the Cheltenham Gold Cup.
So their IT department messed up. Nobody were buying Cheltenham. They're all buying Dante and the lot.
Right.
There you go. But yes, this is correct. Cheltenham are really well down on ticket sales. I've got the inside info on this. One hospitality venue on the Wednesday currently is at just 15% of capacity.
Excellent.
More inside info. You get it here first, as always. A lot of the long-term staff left last year after the failure to pay bonus and overtime. These staff have been asked to do mail out to drum up sales, but were given no guidance or data to work from. It's new management. Feedback from marketing of surveys of last year's festival was horrific. The new CEO has accepted this year will be a complete blowout at Cheltenham, but they're obviously trying to recover it with these cheap tickets. And that'll maybe mask the real take that Cheltenham's taking. It's incredible. It goes on. The staff are just absolutely no morale. Locals, they don't support it due to being priced out.
Fry does.
Well, Fry does, of course. Fry just loves it. It's Fry, innit? Yeah, loves that.
Breaks the sausage rolls on the Monday. And
absolutely. The residents hate it because people are pissing and shitting in the gardens and driveways. It's like something out of Beirut after each day. The locals aren't supporting the meet. Everything's really bad. The staff are absolutely low on morale, and there's plenty that's left. This is awful. This is the meeting that wanted 5 days.
Yeah.
They're all the same, though, these big courses, aren't they? When they want a big meeting on. I mean, how little can they get away with paying the staff? How few staff can they have on the bars?
Yes.
There's only York that never takes any notice.
York are tremendous because, like, York get it right mostly. Not a lot York do not get right.
But why ever such a standout? People from the Jockey Club and the BHP, they're going to bloody Hong Kong, Japan, all over the place, trying to find what to do to get it right. You only have to drive up the fucking road.
Yeah, but you don't get a nice holiday from just going to York. I'm sure a nice break. It's better to go to Hong Kong for 2 weeks on a fact-finding mission, isn't it?
So Cheltenham in trouble. Lads are going to Benidorm anyway, aren't they? Instead of spending the 1,600 quid.
Benidorm with Tomo.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting a bar outside in the warm, watching racing on the telly.
Yeah, fabulous.
Isn't it?
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, tremendous.
Moving on, there is a subject I'd like to touch on, but that may be for next week regarding Sky Bet, but I'm going to leave it till next week because of time issues. The Gambling Commission are in desperate trouble. I handed the article to Chris to make sure he did not miss it this week regarding apparently 4,000 sensitive documents have been sent unbeknown to the Gambling Commission. They've sent them to the rival, obviously, that's suing them, Northern and Shell, regarding the awarding of the lottery owned by Dermot Desmond. And so what I'd like Chris to do is kind of explain how this could put the Gambling Commission in a very, very, very bad position.
Well, I mean, it's it's a massive problem, obviously, for the Gambling Commission. But, as far as I understand it, and, we've only got what's been reported as the basis of our view. This is an error made by the Gambling Commission's lawyers, Hogan Lovell. Now, Hogan Lovell are a top international law firm, right? So you're not talking about a mob sort of operating above a chip shop. This is a serious full-service law firm. That, it's not like, grab it and run solicitors above a fucking betting shop, Oh, no win, no fee. This is a proper serious law firm because, of course, Northern and Shell, I don't know who represents them, but that's going to be of the order of people like Clifford Chance, 1,500 quid an hour, the very best of commercial litigators that, the London legal scene could offer. So in order for them to have a parity of arms, you've got to meet fire with fire. And a firm like Hogan Lovell is just the firm for that because they are massively well resourced. Because what you find in this piece of these sorts of areas of litigation, one side will, if they smell weakness or they feel that the firm is quite small and under-resourced, what they will do is deluge them with paper, knowing that it's absolutely impossible for that firm to have the time and the resources to go through every bit of paper. But you can't do that with Hogan Lovells because they've got tons of super bright Oxford graduates as working as associates, as junior partners, etc., etc. So it is a catastrophic failure for the Gambling Commission that somehow that a partner in charge of that litigation has allowed a load of documents to be released to the other side, presumably many of which will massively undermine the Gambling Commission's case. And to make matters worse, they don't actually know what documents they've given them. Now, I cannot conceive how that's happened. I'm not a lawyer, but I've worked alongside law firms for a number of years. Usually because I'm the accused, so I understand the process quite well. But I cannot conceive how that's been allowed to happen, because even in a fairly low level litigation, there are a lot of checks and balances that are in place to make sure that everything that leaves the doors of your law firm has been signed off by a partner. So the fact that somehow someone has allowed these documents to be released and not know what documents have been released. So it's not a question of going to court saying, the court orders the return of these documents. They can't even itemize what those documents were. So I cannot conceive that's been allowed to happen. My only take on it, however, is, two things. One, the partner in charge of that piece of litigation is in a fucking awful lot of trouble. If he's an equity partner, I think he can kiss goodbye to that equity, because that is possibly one of the most egregious examples of, law firm incompetence that I'm aware of, if what's been reported is true. But you see, the problem is, and I don't know, I'm spitballing here, but when you work for a government department, you're probably part of a panel of law firms, right? So basically, large organizations, be they public or private sector, will go to I don't know, like some British American Tobacco and say, hey, we want to bid for your work. And so there'll be a beauty parade, and the large corporations will say, well, we're going to have you four here. And the law firms know that that's a good gig to have, because A, they can quote that as, we represent Shell, ICI, General Electric, etc. So that's good for them for marketing purposes. But secondly, the big corporation, in this example, the Gambling Commission, will demand considerably lower rates than would be charged to you, me, or John, or any other company. So they, panel rates. So, if you're paying, I don't know, £750 an hour for an associate to work on your file, I dare say the Gambling Commission and equivalents are paying considerably less than that. And the upside for the law firm is they're going to get shitloads of work, so it all balances out in the end. But the problem when you undertake work on the cheap is that law firms are there to make money, right? They are businesses first and foremost. The law is simply a medium for them to make money. Things slip through the net. They don't give as much attention to work where they are not being paid as much as the normal rates than they would do if someone says, yeah, I'll pay you £1,000 an hour. So it's akin to a lot of, people will be familiar with no win, no fee litigation. All right. So okay, that model works in things like, accidents and, plevin reclaims and, these kind of get money back from the banks. But it isn't as effective in commercial litigation, because when a punter signs up for no win, no fee, he thinks, oh, that's fucking great. The lawyer's going to work his bollocks off for me, and I only pay if I win. Yeah, that's true. But what happens is the law firm is putting very junior members of staff to work on your file, and only for a limited number of hours each week. So you are getting the bare minimum undertaken by probably the least experienced members of staff, albeit under the supervision of a partner. So you're not getting the best of the best. And I dare say, when you get a lot of this panel work, Hogan Lovells aren't putting their brightest and best on this work in terms of the actual, the guts of it. And I think what's happened is that maybe a junior member of staff has not followed an instruction, maybe a bit inexperienced, and has allowed that material to go out the door. But I don't know if that is in fact the case, but bottom line is, whether it is or it isn't, is a disaster for the Gambling Commission. But it's not their fault, because no one could criticise them for employing Hogan Lovells to do any of their work. There's no criticism should be levelled at whoever made that decision, because you're not going to get much better than Hogan Lovells.
Let's hope that then somebody in the old DCMS or government makes sure that roads heads roll in this case. I do think that should happen. Imagine that for racing as well. If Rhodes was canned on the back of this could be a big positive for racing.
It would be harsh, though. I mean, I'm no fan of him. He would say, well, we have responded to the lawyers. You know, we've stepped up to every request they're made. You know, they are our agents. They are conducting this litigation, you know, defending our position, whatever. The lawyers have dropped the ball. And I think there's a case for, if the case fails, I'd be going after Hogan Lovells professional indemnity insurance. If they fucked up, I'd be suing them. I really would.
10 million they've refused of Dermot Desmond's outfit in terms of a settlement figure, so they're after plenty.
Yes.
There we go. Let's hope they get it. Moving on. Questions time. It's amazing, isn't it? We go from Gambling Commission to Phileas Foghorn, 49. Who's your favourite rapper?
What the fuck? Ice Cube. I like Ice Cube.
The Golden Whisper Bear.
Boom. He's here all week. Try the steak. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Yeah.
Well, I say younger end. This is for older end, really. But LL Cool J is my favourite.
Yeah, I'm going to knock you out. That's a cracker.
I love a bit of LL Cool J. Phenomenon. Yeah. I'm going to knock you out. Yeah, I love all that shit. He's my favourite.
Ice Cube, Gangster's Fairy Tale. I would get listeners onto that. That's the words on it are really clever. That's a really clever song, rap, whatever. Really good.
I've been asked a question regarding, apparently Tony Calvin last week wants to give me a good old slap on AK's podcast. I'd just like to say, Tony, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a fucking train ticket to Weston-super-Mare, because that's the fucking queue. List of people that want to give me a slap. They're queuing up already.
Yeah.
So if you end up there, join the back of the queue, and eventually you'll get.
Oh, there's something left.
It's longer than the queue. Those fellas to fuck Bonnie Blue. That's how long that queue is. And they've all got their cocks in their hands, honestly.
Absolutely.
To fucking give you a dig.
I'd be upset, actually, if no one actually said that kind of thing. But anyway, moving on.
I like the fact nobody wants to smack me.
Why?
Oh, hang on, John. You know, don't be hasty.
Well, I don't know about that.
Nah.
I don't know about that. That is a debate. Ronnie Omelette has been on. My dream is to get the first question in. Unlucky.
Yeah, gutted, mate. Gutted. Yeah.
Does the panel think it was a mistake to revive Quantum Leap? Have you ever seen that show? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he never made it come.
No, he didn't, did he?
Did he not?
No.
I've had to
What is it? What do you mean revive it? Is there a new one then or something?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, he messed about with time travel, didn't he? He couldn't get home.
Yeah, you have to do better questions than that, Ronnie. I mean, that's shit, isn't it? I mean, it's lucky it made it in at all, isn't it?
Yeah, come on, Ronnie, give us a top class one, and we'll give you first question.
Yeah, proper one. Yeah. But that...
Do it. Think on your fucking and we'll give you number one next week, guaranteed. And then you've done it, and then you can.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dine out on that. It's like the Blue Peter badge of podcast achievements, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Go
so
on.
before the final question, we need to do the Dream Cheltenham panel.
What happened to tip of the week? We can that, have we? Tip of the week.
It's having a break because we get that many bloody questions.
Is it? Run out of ideas, have we? Yeah.
Run out of fucking time. We'd do a 2-hour show. We'd be like one of them shows that no one watches because it goes on for about 3 hours.
Yeah, like Joe Rogan, 9 hours. Yeah.
It's like Children in Need.
It is.
And we don't get paid $100,000 like the bloke that runs it.
This is a great thing from John. John put up the dream panel for a Cheltenham Festival preview. Now, we've had a few great selections. Dream panel from Chris Poole would be Columbo, Doris Stokes, Paul the Octopus, and Tony Ansell.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it.
Paul's
love it.
There. Woody's come up with a good one. Councillor Woodman, the Dirty Tory. Sid James and his bird from the Carry On movie. Great tips to that one. Ted Burvis. He'd be fiddling raffle at bingo after Pie and Peas.
Yes.
Jack Duckworth and Jim Branning.
Oh, yeah. Love it. That's a good one, that. Yeah.
Both of them have had sneaky hackers up, haven't they?
I think so, yeah.
I have.
Shared by J.J. Mooney with Terry McCann taking the mic round the audience.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. But would he be able to sing the theme tune? Not anymore, John. He's brown bread, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Yes,
R.I.P. Terry McCann. Right, so chaps, I've not got much clue on this. There's two that I'd love to see on there.
Go on.
I definitely want the blogger on there.
Would you?
Because I'd stick him on with Adigan.
Oh, God. Yeah, no. Christ. Fucking hell.
Bringing his Thai brass with him, saying, shit. But I'd like all that shit. And I'd sort of mix it up a bit and maybe try and get Harry Finlay on there, somebody like that. But Harry Finlay would be annoyed like fuck with them too. Imagine that. That'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he
Kate
couldn't have
Tracy
that. He
hosting
couldn't
it.
have.
You'd
Yeah.
like that, Chris, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. And that's an urban myth. I don't like that kind of oh look at me, boys. You know that thirst trap. I really don't like it. So you're wrong again.
That's
Yeah,
it.
join the queue, give you a slap.
This is why everyone's queuing from Western Supermare, for fuck's sake. We've just said it.
Yeah.
John, who'd be on your panel?
I'd quite like Lizzie Kelly to be on my panel. I'd make sure I sat in the front row and I'd shout, "Do you remember me?"
Yeah.
And it'd put her right off her stride for the night.
Do you remember when we met her outside York and
Oh my God, yeah.
others introduced her and said, "Oh, these are the Barsters Inquiry lads." Her face.
It was as though she'd actually met leprosy.
Yeah.
Leprosy made
The hell in
human.
her eyes.
Really? I don't know anything about this. What we run out of time. But tell me, what was she not pleased to meet you?
No.
I didn't know about this.
Probably at Western Supermare in that queue, to be honest.
I was behind
Really?
Calvin in that queue.
Blimey.
Yeah, totally. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I definitely made a mistake when I said nobody wanted to smack me. I think she definitely would.
I think she would. Exactly. You'd get one in chops.
Gosh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Interesting selection, John. That. Chris, who would you like to see on a Cheltenham preview panel?
I don't know. I mean, I think yours are good suggestions. I'd like to have John would appreciate is Eddie Yates from Coronation Street. Remember him?
He's dead. What's he going to do?
Yeah, obviously. Well, no, it's a fantasy one, isn't it? Eddie Yates. I'd have him. I'd have Al Bundy from Married with Children.
Superb.
He's a great hero of mine. Superb one.
Al
He's
Bundy,
tremendous.
yeah.
I'd have GPEG. Yeah, I'd have Bobby Riggs. Remember him who played Billie Jean King in the Battle of the Sexes because he was a degenerate gambler and it was a lot of fun. And for the fourth member, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm not sure what I'd have for that. So I'd have someone contemporary, probably somebody like Harry Findlay, etc. But I think for a fantasy panel, I think Eddie Yates, you can't go wrong.
Cool.
You really couldn't.
And if you want to see everyone's selections, go on the timeline on John's questions preview. You'll see everyone's suggestions. It's quite funny, actually. Been absolutely...
That's some great picks.
Yeah, some good ones there. Crackers.
Great crack on there. To expand on that. Final question then, definitely overran this week. Tony Harding, with the sad passing of Brian Murphy, Georgia Mildred.
Oh, yeah.
Which 70s, 80s comedy character would you want to play? E.g., Nev Ender would make a good Blakey, etc., etc. His is Tom Good. John, who from the 70s and 80s comedies would you like to play?
Decision Smith, no question.
Yeah.
Would you? Why is that? Because of the old politics
Power to the
or just the
people and
character?
the fact that Robert Lindsay's such an arsehole, it'd upset him that I'd got the role.
Is he? Is he an arsehole in real life? I don't. Okay, interesting.
Chris,
didn't know that. Well, I'd like to be Jack Harper from On the Buses. You know, Reg Varney's mate. Because my wife says my teeth are like that, which I think is very unkind. But she says. She reminds me of sort of like dirty, sort of desperate old man.
You eat an apple through a tennis racket.
My teeth aren't like that, but I think they're in. I benefited from 1970s dentistry, so I got more fucking mercury than a thermometer in my mouth. So yeah, but yeah, and plus sort of like dirty old man. So that's the view in this house. So yeah, I play Jack Harper. He'll do. He always used to get off with all those young clippers, didn't he? So he couldn't have been.
Despite being 63.
Yeah, so good on him. Yeah, and he killed himself though, didn't he, in real life? So you know, them's the breaks.
Mine would be kind of a tie, really. I'd like to be Metal Mickey. Boogie, boogie, you know, like we love that shit.
Yeah.
And other one would be, I forget the name of the show. I'm HAPPY.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Biggest.
I know I am. I'm sure I am. Yeah.
Only when I laugh. It's that guy in bed, because I just fucking lie there in bed. What a great character to play. I just fucking lie.
Was it James Boland was the hypochondriac, wasn't he? Yeah.
Just lying there going, yeah, I'm fucked.
And I got to the orderly. I think I was like casual racing.
By the time we work through that queue at Western Supermare, you might end up like that.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to going racing this summer and everyone coming up to me wanting to lamp me.
Beat you up, yeah.
You're going to be a stamp Western gum shield, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we'll sell tickets, me and John. We'll make a nice few quid on that, you know. Priority pass get an extra tenner, gets you 10 places up for sure. Yeah.
Right. Oh, you've enjoyed this show. It's been fabulous to do. We've had so much to get through, and I apologise if we've not answered your question that was posted today. As you can see, it's been a lot to sort of do in time. That's all from me, Chris, and John, and we're back next week again to chew more fat and talk rubbish. Bye for now.